Hi, I'm Amy Brooke, and I am a holistic fertility coach. That's what I do, and I'm here to talk about one of the things that I know a whole lot about because this is how we ended up getting pregnant, and that is going to Prague for IVF. You're going to want to check out my first video that I will link in the comments or description down below, / if I can figure out this, I'll do my best. I don't think I have enough subscribers to do cards yet, but if not, it'll be below. Anyways, so my first video was about, okay, so you've decided you want to go to Prague for IVF. Now what? What does that look like? Here are my 5 tips on what to do after you have set a cycle start date. When you're going through IVF, there's a couple different ways that an IVF clinic might go about starting you on your cycle, depending on the protocol that they think suits what you need. So there is the suppressed cycle, so leading up until the point of your first stimulating shot that you would do, your first stim, day 1 of cycle, they will suppress your hormones. When doing a suppressed cycle, you have a longer window of which to set up all of your travel plans, because once you start suppressing, you will know what day 1 of your cycle is, and by that, you'll then know when day 10 or day 14 of your cycle would be and when you should be heading to Prague. In my last video, I talked about if possible for you to go basically as soon as your cycle starts, because it's just easier than trying to balance, your life and blood work and ultrasounds and getting results and then getting them to Prague and then consulting. It's just easier to be there. So if you can financially afford to be there, I would recommend to be there on cycle day 1 or as close to as possible. Now, if you're not going through a suppressed cycle, so for myself, I knew that I would be estimated to start my cycle on X day. And so when we started looking for travel tickets, it was very estimated, but we actually couldn't do anything until day 1 of our cycle. The good news is that there's lots of flights going in and out of Prague, so you can get yourself there with that short window. Some people say that the price you pay for flights is a little bit higher, but at the end of the day, you're saving a ton of money anyways. So I'm not going to say who cares, but compared to being local, it's worth it. So the first thing you're going to do, obviously, after you find out your start date is you're going to want to start setting up your travel arrangements. And here are some things to think about. So 1, you want to book your flights. For me and my husband, we decided that our trip to Europe would be in 2 stages. So we went to Prague for 10 days and then we spent 4 days in England because I really wanted to see England, and so I did. And so we set up our flights to work with that. And then obviously you can just fly straight to Prague. That's probably how most people would do it. There's plenty to see. We could have easily spent the whole time in Prague because it is an amazing place and the country is beautiful. And you could, if you wanted to, get on a train and go to Vienna or other really cool places within a few hours. So lots of options while staying in Prague. Okay, so flights are booked. The next thing you want to think about is accommodations. This is when you want to pull out that Google map and you want to see where your clinic is located and take a look around it and what the area of Prague is called. So in Prague, the city, the areas and neighborhoods are literally called Praha 1, Praha 2, Praha 3, Praha 4. When you're booking your accommodation, you want to be looking at where your clinic is, and if possible, you want to have where you're staying within either the same Praha or a neighboring Praha. And I say this because that just makes traveling to and from the clinic, which should be your main priority of the trip as easy as possible. When we went to Prague for IVF, we actually went to Janet, which was in downtown Prague, and I think literally in Praha 1 or 2. So we stayed in Praha 1, and we don't regret that at all. We literally were a block away from the tram to go anywhere we wanted to do, and a 2-minute walk from the clinic. So on the day of retrieval, it was a really simple, easy little walk before and after, actually, to do that and get there and make that happen. And the appointments obviously were all very close. And because we were downtown, we were also maybe a 10-minute walk from the train station that took you anywhere you wanted to go. It was incredible. It's incredible. Just being from where I'm from in Canada, I've never been on a train. I've been on like a transit subway train, but I've never been on an actual train. So that was pretty cool. We took the train to a few places, and yeah, so don't choose your clinic to be downtown. Don't do that. Choose a clinic because you want it to do well with your personal infertility story and be most effective for you to be successful. You do definitely want to, though, try and get your accommodation to be close to the clinic. As I said, that should be your first priority. Traveling around Prague and the Czech Republic is your second. You also want to think about transportation. As I mentioned before, the city of Prague has a really great transportation system, to the point where when we were looking at getting off the airplane at the airport and then getting to our Airbnb, it said you should just take the bus, which I don't recommend. For the $20 or $30 we would have saved on the Uber, just Uber. It's been a long travel day. It's dark. You just want to get to your Airbnb and go to bed. So just pay that $20 or $30. Of all the places to save $20, $30 for an Uber or anything, that's not it. Now I'm saying Airbnb, and I totally forgot to mention in accommodations that hotels are an option. We chose to stay in an Airbnb because that allowed us to have some more space and allowed us to easily go grocery shopping and pick up a few things to have on hand with us at all times, and just made sure that we had a fridge for any medicine or things like that you might need when you are doing IVF meds. So we chose an Airbnb, and I think that this is the better option, and there are tons of options in Prague all over the place. So there shouldn't be a problem for you to find something, and it's cheaper than a hotel. So yes, you could choose a hotel. There's some great perks to choosing a hotel, like never having to clean and having a great excuse to eat out every meal at one of the amazing restaurants that are all over Prague. Just saying. You also want to make sure that you have familiarized yourself with the bus schedule or transit plan that you're going to have from your clinic to where you're staying. Like I said, for us, it was a 2-minute walk, and there's a good chance that you'll be able to find something similar to that. But if not, just make sure that there is a transit plan that you are comfortable with using once you get there. So a single bus to get to your clinic, not a big deal. A bus and a transfer in a bus, maybe more so. They have the craziest underground system ever for transit, and it's giant. It could be super easy to get on the wrong bus or the wrong line and end up who knows where. So just make sure you're very comfortable with your transit plan, or stick to Uber. Also a great option. As I said before, very reliable. The next thing, now that you've planned your accommodation and you've planned a transit plan and you have your flights, you want to think about packing and what that looks like when you're going to Prague. Something that you definitely want to be aware of is that your meds will need to be transferred in their own packaging. I didn't have to put anything into plastic bags, but I did have its very own pouch, And if you have meds that need to be refrigerated before use, you will want to look at some sort of cooling pouch that you can keep in the freezer for that travel day, and then it keeps it cool until you arrive in Prague. You're also going to want to make sure that you have a prescription for those drugs that has been written in your country of origin. So when you go to see your doctor to get requisitions for any testing that you are going to be doing locally before you leave, you're going to want to have him rewrite the prescription that you get from the clinic in a Canadian, for me, American, whichever prescription, to make sure that when you go through the border, the drugs that you're coming from have a legal right to go with you, basically, or you have a legal right to carry them. So there's no confusion, questions, or possibly having them confiscated from... I don't think that... I've never heard of that happening. Just to be fair, I think that in general, people travel with medicine, and very, 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 very rarely is there a concern with it. You might get an extra swab. I did. They definitely rubbed everything down and put it in the machine, but obviously it was just hormones, so it was good to go. The other thing to keep in mind when packing is you'll want to check with your IVF clinic to see what they want you to bring on your transfer day. So in Canada, when I did retrieval and transfer, they supplied me with a gown. So when I went to the Czech Republic, I didn't have a gown. And also, by the time retrieval had got there, I hadn't really gone shopping, so I had no idea where to find a nightgown, and I wasn't spending a ton of money on a nightgown. So anyways, we were running around hectically the day before egg retrieval to find a nightgown. Just a silly thing. Just seriously a silly thing. I, to this day now, have this super ugly nightgown that I'll keep forever because I wore it when I had my babies put inside me. So there's that. Maybe I'll turn it into something way cooler than ugly pajamas one day. There's tons of stuff on Etsy, right? Or ideas on Pinterest. We'll see. Anyways, pack a nightgown and a robe for retrieval, just in case that you need it. Okay, then another thing to keep in mind when packing is that in Prague, the pharmacies are not like Canadian or American pharmacies. And we struggled to find even just Advil. So I think that a ton of things are kept behind the counter in Prague that are not kept behind the counter in North America. So it's just easier for you to go with the things that you know you're going to need. I remember my husband actually started getting an earache, and this is a super funny story. And we're talking to someone in the pharmacy trying to explain to them that we just need eardrops. And they're not understanding, and we're like pointing at our ear, and it's so funny. And my husband just goes, ouch, 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 ouch. And they're like, ouch. And they brought him some drops, but from behind the counter. So just think about the things that you might need from a first aids perspective and just bring them with you. It's just easier that way to have that stuff on hand, an antiseptic cream, Benadryl, whatever. Make sure you do that. And then make sure as well when you're packing to pay attention to the seasons. So we went in fall, which meant we had to bring all of the clothes and basically wear layers every day. So the mornings were cool, no surprise. And then in the afternoons, it would get into the 20s and quite warm. So definitely when we were packing, we had to bring all of the clothes and wear layers. In the summertime, it might be a little easier because it's just hot there, so you'll bring less, but pay attention to the seasons, no different than if you were going really anywhere else to travel. And then the last thing for you to think about is really planning all the things that are must-sees. Depending on the number of days that you're going to be in Prague, you're going to want to look at the list of people's must-sees for Prague and the Czech Republic and make a list for yourself of things you just absolutely need to see. Make a bit of a plan if you're planners to basically decide like whether today's going to be a good day for physical activity or today we want to keep it easy. We did a walking tour, which I would highly suggest to anybody going because it taught us a ton just about Prague history. And if you've seen my first video on IVF in Prague, my husband is very sure that walking tour and the beer we drank from the monastery that was built in the 1400s is the reason why we to this day can say we have our little Ethan and Everly. The biggest thing now for you that you've planned your trip and you know when you're going is to keep your mind in that positive space. So IVF is stressful and it's scary and it's unknown and there's no guarantees. What the benefit to going to Prague is that you can, obviously you save money, but when it comes to your mindset, it's really easy for you to keep looking for things to look forward to. Instead of always looking towards that next needle or that next event in the cycle, so the retrieval and then information on the embryos. Yes, that's there, but you're also constantly looking for things to look forward to. You hear from somebody about this really cool place that they went to and you look it up on your phone and you're like, oh, we have to go there. And you're able to keep your mind in this place of excitement and hope. And so if you're going to IVF for Prague, embrace the fact that this is something that's new and exciting. Use that as a way to escape some of the mental angst that happens when you go through IVF and just do your very, very best to have like a hell of a good time. And baby dust to all of you, because I hope obviously that when you watch this video you get inspired to go to Prague and excited for what that could mean for your family, and I hope something magical happens when you do so. Bye for now. Catch you later.